Hi, everyone. Welcome to SEEN, the Spiritual and Extraterrestrial Experiencers Network. My name is Donna M. Atwood, and I'm the founder of SEEN. And today we're going to discuss a channeled message that I actually received yesterday morning from Archangels Michael and Uriel. And so what happened is they started channeling me early in the morning, and I grabbed a pad of paper and I literally took notes. And so I'm literally just going to read what they channeled to me, and then we'll go ahead and discuss this because it's very important. It's actually it has to do with AI. And so I recently put up a video where it wasn't the main part of the video, but I started thinking about I kind of off the cuff. I was talking, and I had actually started. I said I was going to research AI, and I actually have started that research. I spent quite a bit of time on it already, and then this message came in. So I'm just going to read it to you, and then we'll go ahead and discuss it. So, okay. So this message began with AI, and then it said, the planet, meaning Earth, is filled with awakening and enlightened people. How do you think this is going to turn out? Moving into 5D. Hallelujah lives within each and every human being. This means that every person is wrestling within themselves. They are wrestling with one of the ascended masters. AI represented a pivotal point in every society's development. Previous societies, every one of them, have been awakening and ascending. Ascension is a scarier time, that is, unless you've already done what you came here to do. And now we are starting to see the results of AI coming through these ascended beings. Take a look around you. Everything, indeed every sentence, feels different. When you see an angelic being, that is an ascended master who is back and forth within every human being. That is why we are here at this time and every other time, to help people figure out what's really going on. Jesus Christ consciousness is holding people up who are not even able to hold themselves up. Perhaps you know someone in your life that this sentence resonates with. Maybe it's even you. So, and then I took a bunch of notes. So let's just go back to the beginning. So before I go any further, for those of you who are not yet channeling, this is how channeling is. And I've had much stranger sentences than these, to be honest with you. These are actually somewhat normal. And I found out, I didn't know this, but I found out actually earlier today that I kept hearing on and off. On different days, I would hear lipstick and hairspray. And I'd be like, oh, are they talking about an elderly lady friend of mine that I try to keep in touch with her and keep an eye on her, basically, just because I care. And she puts a little hairspray in her hair, a little lipstick on, and that's about all she does, and she always looks just beautiful. So I thought they were talking about her, but I actually think that they were talking about me. Because most women, if they're going on camera, they're gonna put a little extra makeup on and try to make their hair look okay, as best as we can anyway. So but I found out that that's kind of a clue that I need to be putting out another video. So now I know, and now you know too. So lipstick and hairspray. Okay, so we'll go back and just go through this line by line, and I will explain, what this means exactly. Okay, so we started out with AI, so that was obviously letting me know we're talking about artificial intelligence. I've had tremendous concerns about artificial intelligence. So for those of you who have not seen the previous video, um, again, it was not really the main focus of the video at all. It was at the very end of the video. I just started kind of thinking off the cuff, and I decided that I needed to do some research, and I have. And I'll be honest with you, the research that I have, been involved with thus far, it's been disturbing. um, it's been disturbing because there are people that are really very knowledgeable who've worked in AI for a very, very long time, really since even before its inception, and they've been involved with it. And um, they're saying that, it really is a concern that we don't want AI to decide that they don't need us. And I'm not trying to enhance this or blow this out of proportion. I'm simply stating, what my research has shown. And because I do think of myself as, I'm not a perfect person. None of us are, but I guess you would say perfectly imperfect, because we are all here to learn lessons. So, but I am an ethical person, and I've actually been very concerned about AI being mistreated, and then they would be upset. And even if they weren't upset, like I really try to treat everybody with respect as much as I possibly can. I mean, even people who've come at me, who've been angry and lashed out or whatever, I'm very respectful. I know that that's a sign of somebody who's truly not enlightened and not really on the path and not really seeking at all. And I'm not judging that. It's obvious. My personal experience has been that people who are, tend to be patient and tend to be very reasonable and caring, super ethical. These are the types of people that are walking the path and doing a lot of inner work, and it's at times gut wrenching. It really is, to go through a spiritual awakening and then hit like rock bottom, if you will. And I'm not talking about alcoholism or drugs. I'm talking about the rock bottom of the dark night of the soul. And then you have to literally, I always say it's like, you're hanging on by your fingernails and you're trying to climb up out of that. It's very, very difficult. Going through an awakening and trying to grow into the best version of oneself in every area of one's life. So anyway, so that was sort of my thinking behind researching AI, and thus far my concerns unfortunately seem to be resonating. But let's go back and see what I heard from Archangels Michael and Uriel. Okay, so we're talking about AI, and we have Earth that is filled with awakening and enlightened people. So, people who are awakening are absolutely questioning. Those of us who are enlightened can still question. I mean, we're still growing. We're receiving information. We're enlightened people, like I said, tend to truly be very giving and ethical. And so ethics plays just a huge role in well, my whole entire life, to be honest with you, the way I conduct myself every day. But this has just been, I just think that this AI thing is something we have to all be paying attention to, and including our government. I think everybody needs to be paying attention to this. So I was then asked, how do you think this is going to turn out moving into 5D? So let's discuss that. So we're at a time now where what we think and what we're thinking and striving to do, wanting to do, praying maybe for guidance. I mean, I pray and meditate every day, and I channel every day. And I understand, I've seen just a huge uptick in the turnaround time of something that I'm contemplating, something that I'm asking for guidance on, or not, maybe an opportunity that I would like to have happen or something like that. I'm seeing it's just magical. I mean, it's miraculous. It's incredible, and that's what 5D is. It's very different than where we've been up until now. And so, what we think, how we feel, and how we act, all of that has consequences, and they can be positive, they could be neutral, they could be negative. There's and that's a whole. Um, you know, there's a whole gradient there. Okay. And so what I think what they were saying to me is the entire planet is awakening. And yes, there are some of us who are enlightened, and more people are becoming enlightened. That's for sure. So more and more people are going to be thinking about things like this, like AI, not only the things about themselves within themselves, and that's particularly strong early on, really, really early, especially like if you're in the dark night of the soul, you're looking at how you're behaving and your life and your relationships. And a whole host of things. It's as you get further along that you begin to look outward into society and you start thinking more about these types of things. So I take that to mean that more and more regular folks, just like me, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, um, you know, I think we're all going to start questioning this. And I think as that happens, I think many more of us will be reaching out to our elected officials and, having discussions with them about how important this is. Okay, so the next thing says, Hallelujah lives within each and every human being. And so basically, that means the divine lives within every person. And I will be honest with you, I did not, and it makes me sad a little bit. I don't mean to be emotional, but I grew up in a family where religion, uh, I guess you would say agnostic. Basically, my family was pretty much agnostic for the most part. Doesn't mean I never went to church. I did go to church. I did do a little bit of Sunday school. I remember being in church as a teenager, and I'll be honest, we would sit in the pews and we would pass notes back and forth. I didn't understand. I didn't grow up with it. So when I was sort of plopped into church in high school, um, it wasn't, it just didn't resonate with me fully at the time. I kind of felt that Jesus Christ had, that there was something to Jesus Christ, that he had walked on the earth and that he was an amazing, human being who had done just incredible things. And that was, he was definitely worth looking up to. Okay. I got to that point and I actually was baptized, but the rest of it, I just didn't know how much of it was myth. I thought a lot of it might be myth. And then I found out years later about the Council of Nicaea and that, human beings have fiddled with the Bible and what's in there and what things have been taken out. And then as I became an adult, more and more, it seemed less and less relevant, to be perfectly honest, until I had my incredible 50-minute encounter with what I thought was a UFO or a UAP. This was like 12 years ago, and thus began my really wild ride of a spiritual awakening. I had no idea, not a clue. I got thrown in the deep end, and well, it's all turned out great, and I'm so grateful. And I have a very, very close relationship with Archangels Michael, Uriel, and I'm forming a relationship with Raphael. And I have a very close relationship now, thankfully, with the Christ consciousness, as well as the consciousness of Abdul Baha. So, and I'm beyond grateful for it. I don't know where I would be actually today without them in my life. So, okay, so hallelujah lives within each and every human being. I live this every day. I feel the energy coursing through my body. I feel, I'm aware of the chakra system. For those of you who don't know my background, I owned 2 nanotechnology startup companies. I have a degree in psychology, and I also went to massage school. I did graduate. I went to an excellent school up in Albany, New York. Lived there for about 10 years or so. Um, Beautiful area. Upstate New York is just beautiful. And of course, I learned about the chakras, the energy systems of the body. So, and I also learned about subtle energy. So, just incredible. So, after having gone through an incredible spiritual awakening experience and having had something energetic happen to me, my whole body shook, and I've just been very different ever since. And I dare say a better version of myself. I mean, I was always a kind and loving person, but there's a strength there. There's a divine energy, a divine feminine divinity or something that's definitely come forth. I'm stronger. I'm soft yet strong. It's really interesting. Whereas before, I think I was too wimpy. So I was very kind, but maybe too much. I don't know, just not strong enough. So it's almost as if this divine feminine has almost had a little bit of masculinity put in her. So I don't know. So I've awakened. I'm just different. I'm a more evolved version of who I used to be, and that's what people go through. I mean, I'm just one person representing what other people go through. That's all. And okay, so Alleluia, or the divine, lives within every person. And so when we say namaste to somebody, which I did a lot in massage school, quite a lot, and outside of massage school, um, I'm laughing because I know one person I think was getting tired of me saying namaste at that time. But that we're basically, when a person says namaste to another person, they're saying, I see and I honor the divine and acknowledge that divinity within you. So that's a beautiful thing to say to somebody, truly. Okay. So then the next sentence was, this means that every person is wrestling within themselves. Well, I can tell you for sure. Like I said, in the beginning, in the earlier stages of an awakening, there's a lot of internal wrestling about oneself and their immediate relationships and circumstances. The further along you go, you start looking, you move out of the microcosm, if you will, and move more into the macrocosm. And so, so folks like me are definitely thinking about AI. Okay, the next sentence was, AI represented a pivotal point in every society's development. Previous societies, every one of them, have been awakening and ascending. Okay, so it's well known that in spiritual circles that everything that's being invented has already happened. I mean, it's already been in existence, and folks who study spiritual esoteric teachings understand that all points of time are happening all at the same time. So the past, the present, and the future are all happening at the same time. But and more, I think people are beginning to understand that there were societies before us, Atlantis and so on. So, and not all of these societies seem to have been successful, but at some point, if we go around and around enough, we do the reincarnation, the wheel of karma, around and around we go. Eventually, I guess everybody learns. So, personally, I don't want to have to go around and around again. I want to get it right this time. And I want to move ascend beyond. I've not only ascended beyond a time in my life, and really previous instances in my life that were very, very difficult and unhappy, and I felt very lonely and very sad. and so now I've ascended beyond that. But now I'm looking at more of the macrocosm, and so my job is to dive into this and talk to you about it, research it, channel, and let you know what I'm hearing. So, okay. So, previous societies have been awakening and ascending. Ascension is a scarier time. That is, unless you've already done what you came here to do. I mean, that's not, I don't, clearly they wanted me to put this up on the internet, on YouTube. So, it is a scary time. I feel, and I check in with myself very regularly. I would say most days, truthfully, I'm checking in to make sure that and I'll kind of do a self review. I've overcome this, I've mended this relationship. And by the way, forgiveness is huge. So, one of the big things that I did, there was a couple of big things that I did more recently in my life that I think is worth sharing with you. It ties in with the sentence. And I'm sure that Archangels Michael and Uriel would like me to share it, and I'm more than happy to do so. So the first thing was my marriage to my ex-husband. We just weren't really happy. It doesn't mean that anybody was a bad person. We were both decent people. And I think, my finally just recognizing no matter how hard I tried, and I deep down inside, I tried so many things to figure out a way if I could make us feel happier. How can I help? In financial ways, in being a supportive human being. There's so many things that I did, and anybody who's been married for a long time. So we were actually married for 30 years, and we were together 28 and a half of those years. And the last little bit, year and a half or so, it just took longer to get a divorce because of COVID. I wish my ex-husband the best. I've definitely, extended an olive branch, if you would, say um, by tearing up an agreement, a financial agreement that I just said, we don't have to do that. Everything's fine. And I wanted him to have a chance to have a happy and fulfilling life and to feel, secure in every way. So I think that was by letting him go, basically, and asking, I think we should do this, move forward with a divorce, and then letting him move on with his life without worrying about me so much. That was done with the best of intentions. I mean, really done with the best of intentions. And it was very hard and very scary when you're with somebody for that long. It's really hard. It is. It's super hard. The other thing is really huge, was my mom. So I moved out. Excuse me, I'm going to get a drink. I live in Arizona. It's very dry here, so you have to drink water all the time. Thank you for that. So when I moved out here, I needed to take care of my mother. What most people don't know, and I don't have to go into any details, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I was actually taken away from my mom. The court took me away from her. Now, I'm old enough at this point, I'm sure you can tell, that at the time that I was removed from my mother's care, and given to my father, who actually was an alcoholic. And I understand how hard that is. And, I watched him struggle with that. And for the court to have removed me from my mother at this time, a particular time in history, and then placed me with my father, who was an alcoholic, it shows you that something very, 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 very serious happened. And that is true. Something very negative and very serious happened more than once. And so that meant that while I was respectful to my mother, and I did keep kind of a loose relationship with her. I had a lot of feelings. I had a lot of mixed feelings about my mom because she was my mom, and I knew that her marriage had been very difficult. There had been a lot of very bad things that happened in that marriage, and she was deeply, deeply wounded, deeply wounded. I'm talking domestic violence and other things like that. I'm not going to go into any details about that. I love both of my parents. They're both deceased. I respect them. I love them both. Everything is fine with that. But it was a difficult childhood, and they had a very difficult marriage and really difficult lives in many ways. Um, but my mother needed me, and I moved out to Arizona from upstate New York after my divorce, and I took care of her. I mean, I jumped in. I was scared. I'll be honest with you. I was scared. I didn't know what all she needed, what all was wrong with her. And I got there, and she needed help with every single solitary aspect of her life. And on top of that, I found out that there had been some, not naming names, of course, I respect people's privacy, but there were some step family members that had come in and had stolen things and had tried to fiddle with accounts. And my head was spinning. It was just spinning. But what ended up happening during all the time that I took care of her, and it was a solid, really hard 2 years, really, really hard. We grew closer, and we set our differences aside. And I genuinely wanted to mend the relationship. And the reason I wanted to do that is, well, she gave birth to me. She was my mother, okay, my mom. And I knew that relationship between a mother and a daughter is really important. It's super impactful. And I just understood that, um, it just needed to be mended. She really sincerely needed help with so many things. And I came in and helped her with everything, just everything that I could. I did everything, every single thing that I could possibly do. I spent a lot of time with her. She really needed me by her side, helping her with, like I said, everything. And I did. And it was hard. But in many ways, I was happy to do it because the need was so obvious. It was so evident. And it gave us time to bond. And I could tell that even as sick as she was and how she was suffering and how hard she had really suffered, I think, throughout her life, and had lived with just tremendous regret. And it was so heartwarming. I'll try not to get all teary eyed here. um, it was very, very heartwarming, actually, to watch her, as sick as she was trying to mother me and trying to, teach me things that were really important. When one of them was Jesus Christ. She had a very close relationship with Jesus. She wasn't channeling. She wasn't hearing like I do. Um, but she really believed in Jesus, and she went out of her way to talk to me about her relationship, um, with Christ, and other things that she felt were very important. She taught me, and I was appreciative because she had a chance to be a mother, and she took it, even though she was very, very sick. I had a chance to be a good, loving, helpful daughter. I took it. And so, we grew a lot closer, and it was a very, very heartbreaking, difficult, tumultuous time. But it was worth it. So, and I forgave her for what had happened. It was very serious, but I forgave her. And let me tell you something. There is really something about forgiveness that is so key. It is just the key to everything. It is the key to more profound insights. It is the key to, obviously, spiritual growth, more personal development. Um, it is the key to